Hello.
So I guess you guys wanted to know about the Reddit API.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to share my screen. So we can figure this out. All right, here we go. Yeah, so before I start, I should begin by saying I'm not an expert on this. I just really started looking into this yesterday. So I'm pretty new to this, but the one thing I've learned about working with the Reddit API using what's called praw, it's a Python package to access that. It's super easy to do, and it's actually very easy to learn, and the documentation is quite good. So I guess I'll kind of just go over some basic code that outlines some of the things you can do, and that's in the context of this project that I pitched, um, which really deals with classifying um, text, well, classifying submissions as being relevant or not to brain imaging, and then kind of looking through the comments and determining if the discussion's an active one, and kind of feeding that to scientists that are interested. To begin using this, you just import the package. It's called praw, and you create something called a Reddit instance. Now, the way you can create that is by passing in your information, or using something called a praw um, INI file, I guess, that contains some of the configuration. That's sort of the recommended way, because you don't want to, write your username and password and kind of upload it to GitHub by accident. But you basically, before you start this, you create a Reddit account, you register an app, super easy, and you get your client secret and your client ID, and that sort of goes in this um, configuration file. And all the details on this are on the GitHub repo that I described. So um, when you initialize this instance of this Reddit class, it basically looks through certain locations that are predefined, and one of them is in your standard configuration folder. And basically, I've sort of given all the username, the password, the client secret, and all the stuff that's needed to authenticate within this file and within the section called brain feed script. So that's where it's getting the authentication information, and from there you're now sort of connected. All the details within this are kind of stored within this Reddit class. So the user agent to connect, the username, and so on. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can zoom in into the console here, but the user agent is basically a way for Reddit to know what's sort of connecting, and there's like a recommended um, string that you should use, and that's all in the documentation that's out there. So from this Reddit instance, you can access subreddits, you can stream through submissions that are kind of being posted in real time. And so as an example, what I'm going to do is look through the science subreddit. Actually, let's add another subreddit. So to add multiple subreddits, you just go science plus whatever other subreddit, so maybe neuroscience. And this defines a subreddit instance, and from here you can go through all the different posts, find recent posts, or stream them using this stream class. So if I run this loop, basically what's going to happen is it first finds the most recent 100 submissions, and then it sort of just waits, and every time a new submission comes, you catch that in this loop. As a side note, if you want to go through all submissions, you can just replace the string here with all subreddits, or sorry, just all if you want to look through all subreddits. Now, every time a new post comes in, you can access it through the submission variable. And so, for example, the most recent post that was in either science or neuroscience, you can get the URL. That's the URL that's there. I think I can just print all the different methods associated with this instance. It's been off. Okay, I'm gonna just run this. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of methods associated with this instance. You can access the author, you can access the URL. I don't know how familiar you are with Reddit, but there are various kinds of posts, text posts, and so on. And so you can kind of access all that information through this submission object. One of the important things for the project that I pitched was to look through the comments. And so if you use the comments method, you basically get something that's called a comment forest. So the way comments are organized on Reddit are it's basically a big tree, or well, you have a bunch of top level comments, and then you have sort of a tree of sub comments. And so they call this a comment forest. It's really easy to work with in Python. For the top level comments, you basically have, you can access them like a list, and you can kind of look at the text body of the comment. You can look at how many comments there are, and so on. So yeah, so that's the goal of using this API for the project that I pitched, was to really just use the text, like the submission posts, to classify if they're relevant or not, and then use the comments and maybe do something like detect if there's a question and feed that question to whoever would be interested. And it's relatively easy to do from what I learned, at least over the past couple of days.
Cool. You had yeah, this is really interesting. You had discussed in the project also linking potentially to Scholars Portal, or trying to do something like if it links to an article about the article
Yeah,
itself.
yeah. So there is the Crossref API. I'm not too familiar with that, but that's something that can be used to get the abstract and the text from an abstract. So the way I envision this is that if you have a post, you kind of the typical posts that relate to scientific articles are either sort of university press releases or direct links to articles. And so part of the challenge is determining what kind of link that is, and if it's like a press release, looking for the article link within that, and then from there finding either the journal or the abstract or keywords, and based on that classify if the article is relevant to the neuroimaging community or not.
Very cool. Hopefully, this gave more info to people who are interested in helping Johan about how this will work. Do we have any questions about this from the audience here? If not, we can maybe bring discussion about this back to Discord. That sounds great. Awesome. Do we have anybody else who wants to share? Can you talk? Sorry, thumbs up to go back to Discord. Or yell at me at the chat now if you want to join the stage. Ooh, I think Jerry demoed most of what he was going to demo during the project pitch section. Unless, Jerry, do you have something else to tell us about NIVIS or something else about the infrastructure behind NIVIS that you want to start a discussion about here? Jerry has left the platform. Okay. So with that, I think we'll bring discussion back to Discord. So I will see people. We'll probably. I think we're going to be using the Discord lounges around lunch to try to have some kind of a voice discussion. So I really recommend people try to join some voice discussions to feel a little bit more together at lunch. And we will see you back here on Hopin at 4 for our mindfulness meditation session. Cool.